What up, what up, what up? How's everybody doing? Back at it, you know. Hope everybody is having a good week. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Didn't get a chance to do the recaps, but hey, we're back on the saddle and I'm about to do some previews for week 12. And man, was week 11 crazy. Guess what, though? We've been saying this all year. This NFL season is a wacky one to say the least. All right. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Let me see. All right. Where is the first game? The Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans. Um, so, if you guys saw the game last week, Josh Allen was nuts. Uh, 3 touchdowns on the ground, 3 touchdowns on the air. True MVP form. You know, people started to doubt the Bills a little bit after their little skid that they had. But like I said before, I wasn't really phased by that. I still think they could be the team to beat in the AFC. We do have them, you know, kind of up there with the Colts. So let me see real quick. But regardless, I just don't think that they're in any trouble. I don't think they're going to be able to really run the table until they can fix their defense. But they do have Josh Allen. So I still, even though they're 2 games back behind the Patriots, I still would put them ahead of the Patriots. But that's another conversation for another day. Right now, they face the Texans. No C.J. Stroud, concussion protocol. Actually, let me double check. Is he going to start? Let me see. But regardless, I'm gonna still give this one to the Bills because oh yeah, he's not going to play this game. So still in concussion protocol. And but either way, look, you got the Bills pretty much still top when it comes to offense. Look at that, 4th in points per game, 2nd in yards per game, 3rd in time of possession. And Josh Allen is playing his true MVP form now. So I'm going to give that one easily to the Bills. All right. Now, this is, and I always say not much to see here. This is kind of a throwaway game. Penix is out for the season. And it's just so crazy because I don't think they're wrong for going with Penix. He's a great quarterback. Not great, but he's a really good quarterback, and he has a huge upside. But as we've seen through his college career, he is injury prone, and the Falcons are in a whole lot of trouble. They put up all that money for Kirk, who hasn't been delivering. They decided to go with Penix, and now he's out. So, there's a lot of situations going. So, this is a toss-up because both these teams, no disrespect, they're not that good. So, I guess just because Kirk Cousins still can have that potential to have like a blow-up game, I'm going to have to give this one to the Falcons. Kirk is still Kirk. He hasn't been consistent. Yes, we know he lost his job. He hasn't been that great. But what's to say he can't put up great numbers against the Saints? So I'm going to have to give this one to the Falcons. And, I definitely, with Kirk Cousins starting now that Penix is gone, I'm going to have to give it to, the Saints. They're in a whole lot of mess too. So they were rebuilding. They had Rattler, and now it just doesn't look too good for them. So, yeah, I'm going to have to give that one to the Falcons. Okay. So, who do we have next? This is a good one. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Rams. Like I said before, the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC, and Matthew Stafford is playing like the MVP. So I just feel like, and you know, you have Baker Mayfield playing like the MVP. You know, he's in the conversation as well. These teams are actually very evenly matched, and that's a tough one. This is a tough one. This is the game to watch this year, to be honest. This is definitely the game to watch because these teams are evenly matched, although I do think the Rams have a slight edge. Who should I pick? I'm going to go with the Rams just because I think that that they're just the team to beat in the NFC. And it's not going to be an easy game. This is going to be a tough game. So I think that, you know, 6-4, 8-2, you know, I'm going to just have to give it to the Rams. Yep, I'm going to give it to the Rams. So, and we saw what they did against Seattle, which was supposedly the best team. And yeah, and hold up, Sam Darnold. What have I been telling you all week? But okay, we're not going to talk about that right now. But right now, as far as Baker Mayfield head to head with Matthew Stafford, I'm giving this to the Rams. The slight edge, but this will be one of the most competitive games of this week, and I'm probably going to do a whole segment of it after the game is over, just to really outline what could possibly, what I would think would be the future for these two teams, because both of them are top of their division. So it's going to be great. You know, the Buccaneers at the top of the NFC South. Rams are ahead of Seattle by one game in the NFC West. So yeah, this is a great matchup, but I'm gonna have to give it to the Rams. Okay, Seattle versus the Titans. So, Mr. Darnold, you got a warm-up game right now. I mean, this is the NFL. Anything could happen. But this will definitely be their bounce back game. Because Sam Darnold completely tanked last game. Literally threw 4 interceptions. And that's exactly what he did in Minnesota when they went to the playoffs. The one serious game he had, he blew it. And all the games are serious, right? This is the NFC. He showed up against a lot of other teams. But when a true test came, he failed miserably. That's why Minnesota, in my opinion, was correct to let him go. And I do feel like I'm his harshest critic. You know, nothing against the guy personally, but he puts up stats, and then when it matters, he tanks. He doesn't just lose, he tanks. So he threw 4 interceptions with the Vikings in their first playoff game, and he threw 4 interceptions against the Rams. So, and they still could have won, you know. So, yeah, he's definitely going to bounce back from this game. But again, I don't think Seattle's the team to beat strictly because of Darnold, and I don't think, unless he proves me wrong, he can take them to the next level. He will get them in the playoffs, but if he has to face Tampa Bay or the Rams again or any strong team, I just don't see it happening. So, but this against the Titans, this will be light work. You know, the Titans are the bottom and everything. So, you know, easy money for that. You know, he needs that. He needs this one to sharpen his sword. All right. This is another game of the week. Pittsburgh versus Chicago. Well, now that Rodgers is out, I don't know what you expect. I'm going to give this one to the Bears. The Bears are on a hot streak. Caleb Williams is playing really good, consistent. And even though the Steelers are top of their division. Baltimore's knocking on their door, and with Rodgers hurt, Baltimore could easily catch up. So I'm going to have to give this one to the Bears simply for the fact that Aaron Rodgers is hurt. But even if he was there, we don't know which Steelers team would show up, you know? Could they show up against the Bears if they needed to with all their top defenders? We don't know. You know, I'm sure Ramsey will have a chip on his shoulder after dealing with Spitgate last week. We're not even going to talk about that. That's why I should have done the recap from all the games, because so much stuff happened last week. But you guys can pick it up in all the other networks. I'm just trying to survive as a channel, But so anyway, long story short, I'm giving this to the Bears. Not easy money, but without Rodgers, if he doesn't play, the Bears will continue their win streak and continue to march on in the playoffs. They're top of the NFC North. I'm shocked that they're ahead of Green Bay and Detroit, but it's only one game. This is a very tight division. So, but Detroit, I feel like, is kind of going on a slide a little bit. So anyway, not to get too far off topic, I got the Bears beating the Steelers. Philadelphia versus Dallas. NFC East. NFC East showdown. So if you guys haven't heard in the news, there's been a lot of chatter about the offense being sick of Jalen Hurts. And in my opinion, a lot of people in the locker room are getting tired of him, But like I said, in my opinion, they're all just being a bunch of divas. You guys are winning. You guys are doing what you have to do. You guys are atop of the NFC East by a long shot. And you got all these little prima donnas. Oh, and let's not forget, you just won a Super Bowl. Give that man a break. Stop hating on your quarterback. A.J. Brown, okay, I wouldn't want them to trade him. He is a valuable asset. The numbers don't show he is valuable. His presence on the field opens up a lot of plays for Devontae Smith. Okay? So, stop complaining, Philadelphia Eagles. Stop hating on Hurts. He took y'all to 2 Super Bowls and won one, and you guys are top of the division. Like, this is the problem. People have it so good, they get spoiled and start whining about everything. They're literally 4 games ahead of everybody else in their division. The people behind them is Dallas 4-5-1. Philadelphia's 8-2. They're gonna walk in the playoffs, and everybody wants to give Jalen Hurts a hard time. So it's stupid. They're gonna be their own self. They're gonna destroy themselves, And if this continues, they're not gonna be able to, because it could be them versus the Rams in the NFC title game, or in a deep playoff run. They're not gonna win if they don't get it together. So they need to stop, And I saw an article where Jalen Hurts said he wasn't concerned or he doesn't care, and he shouldn't, man. He should be like, what, I'm here to play. I don't need to make any friends. But this is such a toxic culture, and it's so weird because you guys are winning. So in what world are we in now that winning doesn't matter? I mean, man, I don't know what to tell you. But easy win for Philadelphia, or maybe this in-house drama Dallas could show up and Dak could play like the MVP he was projected to be. I don't know. But I just don't see them beating the Eagles. They're just, through all the adversity, they always find a way to win because of Jalen Hurts. So, leave that man alone and let's make light work of this NFC East rival. So, anyway, and the Giants versus Detroit. Pretty much the Giants lost everybody. No head coach, You got Jameis Winston starting at quarterback again, probably. I think this will be an easy game for Detroit. So, and Detroit needs this because they're going on a little slide too, a little bit of shuffling with the play calls here and there, and they're in a really tough conference, the NFC North. So they definitely need this win so they can be tied with. Well, they won't be tied with Chicago because they still lost 4 games. Assuming Chicago wins this game, and if they win this game, they will pass Green Bay. Actually, You see how close it is? If all three win, they'll be in the exact same order. Chicago's first, Green Bay second, Detroit's third. So, this is a tight conference, but Detroit needs to win regardless. So, I'm going to have to give this one to them. The Giants are definitely in rebuild mode right now. So, all right. Speaking of one of the top teams, Burrow is green lighted for a full practice. Is he going to start this game? Jamar Chase is suspended because of Spitgate, because this man spit on another player and then lied, and now he's appealing it. They should suspend him for another game. I mean, let's play devil's advocate here. All right. Let's say this man was just spitting on the floor while he was fighting, and he didn't intentionally hit Ramsey. That's what he's saying. He was just spitting. Maybe you could fight him like, what? Like, I'm not buying it. That man, he spit on that man. So at the end of the day, just take your suspension, bro. Take your suspension. But back to this game. With the way New England is playing, and with us not being sure who's going to be the quarterback, and even if doesn't matter if it's Burrow or Flacco, the Bengals will be a completely different team without Jamar Chase. He is that good of a receiver that he can be a game changer. Yes, they have Higgins. Yes, he is all pro also. But without Chase, if he's going to be the main focal point, then defense could just double and triple him all day. So just Chase suspension alone is going to cost them the game against the Patriots. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. So I'm going to have to go with New England on this because they're playing excellent. I think they got the best record in the league. They're just too good right now. So, I'm going to have to give it to the Patriots. Minnesota versus Green Bay. All right. Minnesota is sliding, obviously. But we don't know which Green Bay is going to show up. So for this one, I'm going to have to give it to Green Bay. Just because I don't see McCarthy. Listen, he did better than what I thought he would do. He has a lot of heart. He will run the ball. He can run pretty well. But at the end of the day, Green Bay is just an all-around better team. But we've seen Green Bay in tight games versus teams they should have beat easily. So we don't know which one's going to show up. But assuming the Green Bay who we think is going to show up will show up, I'm going to have to give it to them. I think they're gonna win this game and still be in a tough spot in their conference, shuffling between second and third place. So, but I'm going to give this one to Green Bay. Oh, and it's funny, Minnesota's in that conference too. So, but obviously Minnesota's last at 4-5. So, I'm going to have to give this one to the Packers. All right. Jets versus the Ravens. So, should we place Lamar Jackson back in the MVP conversation? His return alone, and with Aaron Rodgers going down, puts the Ravens in position to be at the top of their division and make a playoff run just because Lamar Jackson came back. That's it. So for that alone, my MVP is Matthew Stafford. And obviously, if Lamar stayed healthy the whole year, he would probably be my MVP pick because, he's just that good of a player. But the runner-up, assuming we had MVP votes today with Josh Allen and everybody, should be Lamar Jackson. Because if they turn this around and make the playoffs and even be atop of their division, that alone just shows how much of a difference maker he is. Because look at their defense. They're 29th in sacks, 17th in interceptions. Their defense, along with the Bills' defense, is horrendous. And just the way Josh Allen is willing the Bills, Lamar is willing the Ravens. And that will be an exciting game if we see the Ravens versus the Bills with with two dynamic quarterbacks and two bad defenses. That's going to be entertaining. So, obviously, let me see. I don't think they play this year again. Obviously, if the Ravens make the playoffs, there's a good chance that they could face the Bills. So I don't know. We'll see. But as far as the regular season goes, they're not facing the Bills anymore. But bottom line, not to get too far off tangent, he is willing his team the way Josh Allen is willing Buffalo. So if they make the playoffs, you got to give all the credit to Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, this is incredible. This is like the perfect storm, especially with Rodgers going out. But anyway, I'm not going to repeat myself. Easy win for the Ravens. The Jets are in turmoil. So I'm going to have to give this one to the Ravens. Jacksonville versus Arizona. Similar situation. Jacksonville is playing very well. And Arizona is shuffling. They shut down Murray for the rest of the year, pretty much. Well, 4 games at minimum. And, Jacksonville, even though they're not the top team in their division, that's the Colts. They blew out the Rams. They literally blew out the Rams 35-6. When the Chargers. Like, wow. Like, come on. Like, so, we don't know which Jacksonville is going to show up this game, but even out their worst game, I feel like they got an easy win for the Cardinals. But they still can't beat the Colts. They can't overlap the Colts. The Colts are the top of their division. Even though I feel like Daniel Jones and the team is slightly getting exposed a little bit, their running back, Jonathan Taylor, is literally carrying the team and their defense. So, but anyway, back to this game. Easy win for Jacksonville. Speaking of the Colts, same conference. We got the Colts versus the Chiefs. So, I'm not going to back down, okay? But the Chiefs are 5-5. My Super Bowl pick is 5-5. And the Colts are looking really strong right now. Who should I pick this game? Could this be Kansas City's redemption game? I mean, let's face it. They faced Denver, top defense, and it was a very close game. So it's not like the Chiefs played horribly, but they had a few horrible games to the point they had to beat Denver to move up, especially with the way Los Angeles is inconsistent. Because I don't think, obviously, they're not going to overtake Denver to be first in their division, but they could still make the playoffs, if they win consistently. But they're not consistent. And now they got to face the Colts the way they're playing. Do I still think they're going to go to the Super Bowl? I got to stick with my pick now. It's already week 12, so I'll stick with my pick. And because of that, I'm going to say they're going to beat the Colts. I think they're coming in pissed off about what happened in Denver. And we're facing Denver. And I think this will be their redemption. I think Daniel Jones is going to get exposed by Steve Spagnuolo. He's already kind of been, but obviously they have to worry about the run game, which is what happened during the Super Bowl. They focused so hard on shutting down Saquon Barkley that Jalen Hurts threw all over them. So, I don't think they're going to make that same mistake. I think they're going to have a balanced attack, but the Chiefs are sliding. If they lose this game, you can pretty much count them out, So I hope they win for the sake of my pick holding some weight. But to be honest, on paper, it doesn't look good. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs. This will be my upset pick of the week. So, which is wild if you'd have said that in the beginning of the season. If it would be an upset if the Chiefs beat the Colts. But here we are in week 12. So, all right. Now the Browns versus the Raiders. Oh, man, y'all. Why didn't y'all tell me about my sound effects? Shador is going to start. Shador is finally going to start. I already knew this was going to happen. If you look at some of my old tapes, I said they're going to throw him in there with 5 games left and expect him to do something. They pretty much have no hope. Dylan Gabriel's hurt. They got no one else to turn to. It's like they with all their kicking and screaming of not putting him in the game, they got no choice but to put him in the game. And they're going to do it against the Raiders. So with that, the Raiders suck, but Max Crosby is really doing his thing. So you have to look out for him. Their defense could do some damage to Shador. But if Shador plays respectfully, there should be no question who should be their starter between this and next season. Okay? Still weird why no teams wanted him. Still weird how the Browns are treating him. Stefanski's a 2-time coach of the year. I don't know why they wouldn't put him in earlier. I don't know why they're so focused on Gabriel. The whole situation with the draft and everything, it makes no sense. Shout out to Gabriel, but come on, like he's not as good as Shador. He's small and he's easy to get hurt, and he can't throw the deep ball the way Shador can. I just don't understand. So, as with everybody, doesn't understand. But Stefanski knows what he's doing. And I'm pretty sure he knows his job is on the line anyway. So I'm gonna have to give this one to. Damn, this is a close. Both these teams suck. As much as I like Shador, both these teams suck. You know what? I think Shador is gonna play respectable, but I'm gonna give this one to the Raiders. Geno Smith is probably playing for his life. Pete Carroll is gonna be playing for their life. You know, that experiment didn't work out. Not sure why the Raiders actually pursued Geno Smith. He's been in the league for a long time, and he has a couple good years with Seattle, and all of a sudden you treat him like he's a top-tier quarterback, which now he has the most interceptions in the league. But he's shown flashes where he could step it up. He's going to face Garrett in that Cleveland defense, which is pretty decent. But, damn. With all the drama going on with the Browns, I think Shador is going to have a decent game, but the Raiders are going to win this one, just off of veteran experience. So that's my pick. I'm going to pick Oakland. Carolina versus San Francisco. Well, this is another one of those things where I was completely wrong. Or maybe not yet. Because first of all, I said they should stay with the hot hand and keep Mac Jones in there. But guess what? Brock Purdy just came in and pretty much played lights out last game. So it's like he never left. And is San Francisco that well-rounded of a team that it doesn't matter who starts? You know, I was saying go with the hot hand. I was saying, keep Mac Jones in there. But at 7-4, they put him in there. And, I mean, it was against the Cardinals. They put up 41 points with Brock Purdy starting. Man, so if this continues, I got to take back all the trash I was talking about Purdy. Not that I didn't think he would be good for the 49ers, but I thought that Mac Jones was the hot hand, and you should stick with the hot hand. But, hey, for that alone, I'm going to have to pick him over the Panthers, even though the Panthers are 6-5. The Panthers are 6-5. Like, they're actually making a run for the playoffs. They're only behind Tampa Bay. And they didn't win convincingly. They placed the Falcons. They only beat them by 3 points. But the Carolina Panthers are making a good run. What if they decide to show up and play lights out and beat the 49ers? Then I'm definitely going to go in on Purdy. But, hey, man, I have no personal issue with any quarterback that I criticize. So if Purdy's good, he's good. You got to call a spade for a spade. And yes, that means San Fran's overall team is good. And I guess you could still make Shanahan coach of the year, even though I was highly critical of him for putting Purdy back in. But this will be a good game, but I'm gonna have to give it to San Francisco. And I think that's it. We did Atlanta versus New Orleans. Yeah, we did all the games. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Um, I'll catch you guys with the recaps, but I'll definitely upload a few more before the end of this week. We got Thursday and Friday tomorrow. Maybe we can elaborate some specific games or situations. Definitely excited for Shador to start. So happy week 12, everyone, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.